each of us, there burns the fury of a warrior. In every generation, a few are chosen to prove it.
One of you three will decide the outcome of the tournament.
Three strangers will travel to the mystical realm of Outworld, defend our people, and our world is theirs.
It has begun!
This is Arnold Schwarzenegger, and you are listening to the boys from Down Under, Toyzilla Oz.
I remember when that first came out.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
The Creature from the Black Lagoon.
yeah, frightened crap out of us.
When I found out about him was through the Monster Squad.
Oh, yeah.
When that movie came out and I was a little boy and I saw that, I'm like, wait a second. And they had all the monsters, and then I sort of looked back and saw all the old ones, and it was good. It was good that for being a starting point.
I saw it on television when I was a kid, and I remember...
Black and white?
Being terrified of it.
Yeah, they caught him and took him back and held his gills up, and he got out and ran into the water and drowned because he didn't have any gills anymore. They were turning him into a human. And
Film trivia, Lamar Boren, I think his name was Lamar Boren. He was a champion swimmer at his school. He was the guy in the suit.
Oh, really?
And he went on...
what was it, Boren?
It was Boren, something like that, yeah. Lamar, something like that.
Yeah.
And he went on to win an Oscar for being the cinematographer of the underwater sequences in Thunderball, James Bond movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And welcome back to another edition of the Toyzilla Show. I'm your host, Draz, and today we have two special guests. We have Andy and Iain. So I've known Andy for coming up to about a year now. Today I'm meeting Iain for the first time, and yeah, really excited to hear both your origin stories. Yeah, so that the listeners can hear it. So yeah, kick it off, Andy. I want to hear how you started out collecting pretty much, or what was your first memory of toys and collectibles as a child?
Being a child of the 70s, I was pretty well into Star Wars from the get-go. So I think Star Wars and Lego were probably the big things for me when I was a kid. And then Masters of the Universe kind of came in, and then Transformers, and then WWF with the LGN rubber characters where you could knock each other out of them. That sort of stuff, was all around our house when we were kids. So
with Star Wars, who was your favourite?
I've always kind of gone towards the droids,
Oh, you love the droids, C-3PO, R2-D2.
Yeah, like not just them, just the other droids in the background. I kind of always kept an eye out for them. The weird and wacky sort of characters, Cy Snoodles and the band, and just that weird sort of stuff. Bib Fortuna and Jabba's palace, and just that sort of attention to detail that was thrown into those movies that you could watch 1,000 times and still find something new,
little bits
regardless
and
of all the crap that they've added to the current release of films.
Yeah, all the revamps that they've done with the VHS back in the late 90s to what they've done now with the Blu-rays and DVDs. What about you, Iain? Who did you lean towards in Star Wars?
Oh, I wasn't a big Star Wars fan. For me, because I'm a lot older than Andy, my first science fiction love was Star Trek.
Oh, yes.
So I was a Trekkie. Oddly that we get on together because we're supposed to hate each other, but we don't. But I've always been drawn to the Trek. And I guess when I was young, it was Spock. Spock just fascinated me. And I think it was Leonard Nimoy's performance, because he really got that sort of emotionless thing down pat, and it was quite fascinating to see someone with no emotion at all. But there was those episodes where he would occasionally let the human side out, and that just fascinated me as a kid to see Spock go off like that. I was a vehicle kid. I always was more attracted to the Enterprise than as a collectible, and so I think the first models I built were of the Seaview and the Enterprise as a kid, and also the James Bond stuff. I used to collect the Corgi cars.
Oh, lovely!
Those were the two things that sort of started me off. But I've also always liked horror movies when I was a kid.
Oh, horror movies!
And I think it was the discovery of Universal films on late night television that I remember the Friday night was always horror movie night, And I started collecting the original Aurora plastic kits, and they were just amazing to have.
And you used to paint them yourself.
Yeah, and that was the first thing that really blew my mind, because I remember the first one I did was Frankenstein. I still clearly remember when it was finished, standing back and just going, oh, that's awesome. And then I was hooked, and from then on, anything to do with movies, horror movies, or to a lesser degree James Bond, but a little bit of James Bond stuff, and anything to do with Star Trek. It was a bit of a boom when they made the movie Star Trek the Motion Picture, because there was all this stuff that just became available.
Oh yeah, especially like all the toys and the collectibles and the merchandising was just insane.
Yeah, it was really, really big time. So that's what started me off, yeah.
I think it's pretty safe to say we're both pretty eclectic sort of
We
collectors,
are,
aren't we?
we are.
Lots of varied.
I still occasionally like to get die-cast cars, but now I'll get more die-cast Batmobiles or die-cast. I've got a great Aston Martin DB5. I think it is
lovely.
From the film. Things like that, really, like when I see them in shops, I can feel my palms starting to itch.
Oh, it's the addiction, the collecting addiction. It's tough. Like we could say, okay, we're not going to do it anymore, and then the next minute something will come out, or walk past a shop, and it'll just be like, okay, I've got to get it.
And recently, that's been my story. I've seen things off the cuff and gone, oh man, can't believe they brought out that,
And you got to think about how many movies we love and how many TV shows we love and actors, and it's in the hundreds.
Yeah.
And we want to get a piece from each of them.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I've sort of delved into autographs now.
Oh, that's excellent. Yeah, I'd like to do that.
So I want to get like autographs. Because I got the Freddie Robert Englund from you, and so I put that next to my premium format, and then I just want to go down. I want to go down the line of more autographs next to my favourite pieces. It's addictive. But you're into cars as well, aren't you, Andy?
Yeah, yeah.
And you've got a lot of collectible cars.
No, I've recently trimmed down quite a bit. I've only got a few now. I've got a 934 Porsche from my birth year. Nürburgring, which is my favourite track, and then I've got just a GTF Ferrari from the early 60s.
Oh, lovely.
The CMC, they're just amazing. The detail's just insane, isn't it? So that's all I've got at the moment, die-cast car-wise.
Did you move on your Big 80?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I used to see that. That was the detail in that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, yeah. No, it all had to go.
Oh, definitely.
And then as soon as I said it all, I was done.
Along comes this guy.
Along comes the Cinema Kid Creek from the Black Lagoon. Beautiful, beautiful piece. You're growing up, you're Star Wars, Master Universe, all that type of stuff. When was the point of you going, okay, look, you've grown up, got into girls, all that type of stuff. When did you come back to collecting, and what was the first collectible you decided to get, and then it sort of started the whole process?
The ball rolling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was probably... I just met Marissa, so it was probably I was probably about 27.
Mm-hmm.
Just setting up house, and we kind of had a spare room. It was kind of like an office, but had a bit of odds and ends, and we had a cabinet that was kind of half full. I thought, I wouldn't mind putting something cool on that,
Mm-hmm.
And I just found that at the Star Wars shop website. This was 13 years ago now. So,
oh wow.
And the K3 diecast gear out, and you could pretty much pick whatever you want. And I got the ATST, and I was stoked. It was expensive at the time. Even back then, I remember thinking, seeing what they're listed for on eBay now, it's just crazy. But I was really chuffed with that, and that was the centerpiece for a long time until we got a bigger house and more cabinets. And
oh man,
yeah,
the stuff you told me that you had, like even go down to like first edition books.
Yeah.
And comics and everything, like it blew me away when I first came over, and you're like, this is what I have, but this is what I did have.
Yeah.
I'm just like, really? and then you're pulling out all these gems here and there. I'm like, wow. Like, absolutely blown away.
Yeah.
So I went from that, and then when did like the...
It became a bit obsessive, I suppose. There was kind of a couple of years there where money for holidays was spent on a statue, which my wife wasn't very happy about. Every time I've decided to trim down, I've actually ended up doing this.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's one of those things when we try to, trim down, it's gets hold of us again and just drags us through.
Yeah.
What are some of your standout pieces that you've had over your collecting the 13 years that you've been doing it? You look back fondly at?
Oh God.
Because you've had some good ones.
Sideshow Premium Format exclusive Hulk and Thing.
Oh, wow.
Those opposing each other on top of Besters was pretty impressive.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard to think.
There's so much stuff.
I really liked the Sideshow Grievous premium format.
That was great.
That was, like that on a that held its own with Cinemaquettes as far as I was concerned. It was the detail and the quality. It was a real convoluted piece to put together, but it was really impressive. I'm trying to think because I had a whole bunch of Lord of the Rings stuff as well. I think the premium format Lurtz,
yes.
Really amazing. For the quality of it.
Did you ever have Berserker?
No.
I've never seen Lurtz in hand, but I've seen Berserker, and it's the quality is just outstanding.
Yeah.
Especially like the wetter versions were alright, but the Sideshow versions were just spot on.
Yeah.
The mix of media and everything.
Yeah.
I thought it was great.
Yeah. And then I suppose I had props. I had, the name of prop I probably had it more so for Star Wars than anything else.
You had all the lightsabers and the
lightsabers, all the hilts, the Leia blaster, signature Leia blaster, signature Boba Fett helmet.
And you had all the Cinemaquettes as well.
Not all of them, but yeah, quite a few of them. I had the TX, the T850, Jack, Creature, and there's.
I just thought it's crazy, like some of the Star Wars books you have, and it's nuts,
Yeah.
But I guess we always evolve with collecting, trying to collect all your childhood memories. That's what I did. I wanted to get the 1983 Galoob Mr. T.
Oh, yeah.
I used to have photos of me with a kid with that. Finally achieved that, and then I want to get Ninja Turtles, He-Man, Dino Riders, all the rest of that type of stuff. And then I guess you keep evolving to the point now where it's just autographs and posters and books. And, still premium formats and statues. Yeah. So with you, Ian, so when you did the Frankenstein painting and all that, when did it kick off for you, or was it from childhood all the way up to now?
Well, the interest was always there. I've always been interested in film, and I still am. I mean, film is my main thing. But actually, hearing Andrew talk, it was around about the same time that Andrew started getting heavily into it. We used to work together, and often on night shifts we'd go down and check some computers in the place that we worked. And I remember seeing a Sideshow bust of both Frankenstein Monster and the Mummy, and I was just blown away. I mean, that was just the most awesome thing I'd ever seen. And then I heard what Andrew had, and I started seeing his collection, and I got sort of inspired to buy some. So I started buying the Sideshow Monsters. And the bulk of my collection now, because it is sort of strongly filmed, it's strongly film influenced, is the Universal Monsters. I love the Universal Monsters. So I've got Dracula and the Phantom of the Opera, which I love.
Oh, mate, that is a beautiful piece. And they don't make them like that anymore.
No. It's one of the things. As I was saying to Andrew, the one piece that I'm missing is The Bride. And I checked out a Sideshow site a few weeks ago and saw it on the web. And the Premium Bride, the likeness of Elsa Lanchester was just great. And that would look terrific next to my Frankenstein. It really would.
Well, if you hear that, people, if you've got the Bride premium format out there, please hit us up. And, let Ian know. If it's a good price, it's a fair price. Not the overinflated ones that people try to do.
And so other than the monsters, my collecting has been more eclectic, as Andrew said. I loved Voyage to the Sea as a kid. So when the prop replica of the Seaview came up, I can't remember who made that, but when it came up, I grabbed it.
Was that EFX?
No, could have been.
Well, Master Replicas? No.
I think it was Master Replicas, but I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, that's just a beautiful piece. Lights up. It's got an interior.
Oh, lovely. Did you keep a lot of stuff from childhood?
Oh, well, as you were saying, a lot of the stuff that I've gotten, like the big die-cast Aston Martin, was really just wishing that I still had the Corgi.
Oh, yeah.
It's a childhood thing, yeah. And even the monsters, I wish I'd hung on to the Aurora kits, but as a kid, you don't realise how much they're going to be worth one day. So they're all gone, And, I liked getting the monsters because it was like replacing the things that I had with something that was actually a lot better. It was like professionally made, beautifully done,
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so
I just love how you can look at a piece and it brings you back to childhood.
it does, yeah.
And that's the best thing about collecting. It invokes memories that just come flooding back to you. And, we always try to, remember the past and all the good times. And, you know, the future seems like it's just really technology based. You know, when you get back to it, it's a great feeling.
It's grounding. Yeah.
The statues are really, as you say, with technology, they're really something simple and straightforward, but the detail that goes into them and the artistry that goes into creating them, there's something that just you can just look and think, man, that's a beautiful piece on its own, you know. So, yeah, it's basically a lot of my collecting has been sort of nostalgia-based.
So you've only really been doing it for about, full on?
Yeah, for about 13 years.
Oh, wow. So you guys have got a few more years on to me.
Yeah. Well,
If you go to his house, it's more than 13 years here, I'll tell you that.
Well, the truth of the matter is that there's a lot of things that I just held on to, but I can't really remember what they all are. I can't remember when I got them. So there's a lot of stuff that's probably, you know, related to all this, but weird stuff like, you know, die-cast Batmobiles and programs, film programs. They don't make film programs anymore, and I've got a lot of film programs. Got the original Star Wars program.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not in the best condition because it's been thrown around a bit over the years. Yeah, it's all still there. All the pages are still there, and it's
that's awesome.
Yeah. So a lot of the stuff is stuff that I collected without really thinking I was collecting.
Yeah.
Like, when I went to the movies, I love movies so much. If there was a program going, I'd buy a program.
Sort of just fluid and just came.
Yeah, it just comes. Yeah. So a lot of stuff I've collected, I've just sort of, as you say, they just come to me. It's stuff that I've just gotten out of the blue. Yeah.
It's one of those things. If things just pop up, you just go, wait a second, I'd love to own that.
Yeah.
For me now, it's just like space issue. I think.
Yeah.
You know, I'm trying to cram everything into one room, and
yeah, I'm pretty much the same. I'm pretty limited now on what I can have because of where I'm living, but yeah, it sort of doesn't stop me from wanting stuff.
We've got Andy's dog running around us at the moment. Cute little thing. So what's on the just say the top list apart from The Bride, like that you would hope to see that they would make?
If I could get a Nautilus, that would be the final piece.
I was just looking online for it.
Any luck?
No. You can get a sea view. You can get a decent sea view from Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea.
Yeah. Already got one of them.
Oh, lovely.
When I first saw 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, the Disney film, which would have been in the 60s when I was a kid, it was a reissue of the film. That was my Star Wars moment. You know, a lot of people I talk to who are Star Wars fans talk about seeing that ship come overhead.
Yeah.
You know, and that really just blew them away.
I think that's what he's referring to.
Yeah, that'd be it.
That's gorgeous.
That's insane.
Just looking at a photo of the Nautilus.
So what if you were to sell that in order to get that?
Oh, yeah.
You wouldn't think about it?
Oh, I wouldn't think about it at all.
No?
Yeah. And that's the thing, it's like my Star Wars piece. It's the piece that really turned me on not only to sort of adventure films, science fiction films, but kind of turned me on to the whole sort of collectible thing. I always thought, why didn't they issue, because I was a model kit builder, I always thought, why didn't they issue a model of that? And they probably did, I was just too young to know.
It's hard when we live in Australia because America and all the other countries got all this vast amount of collectibles and merchandise, and we were just sort of left with the bargain bin stuff or whatever got imported. And we missed out on a lot of good pieces, especially the mailaways. That always used to kill my life. I'd get a comic, I'd look at the back, oh, Dad, can I mail away for this? Not possible.
Yeah.
So that's why we missed out on a lot of that. But being, living in Australia, we still have access. I think over the years it got greater and greater. And
the net has really revolutionised the whole thing. I mean, with eBay, not only eBay, but the sites like Sideshow Cinema and Cat, all of the major sites.
It's amazing.
The things you can get, the quality is just so much
quality.
better than I remember as a kid.
Oh yeah, like from going to just normal statues to mixed media, and then you've got the feel and the texture of it. It's actually like they're jumping out at you.
Yes.
They're alive.
I think that's one of the things that makes the Jack Sparrow really exciting because it's cloth. It's not moulded. It's not made of anything that's hard and rigid. It's got the cloth clothing.
Yeah,
and it makes it more. It just pops more. It just is in your face more.
It's incredible. And thinking back to when I first hit the internet when I was a kid, I think it was about 95, and it was just all text. Do you remember that? Like the computers with the green, the green writing and all that.
The black screen.
And that was fun, you know, like being able to have technology at your fingertips, even though it was words and eventually got into pictures and then videos and then now where we're at.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
I do.
Do you guys remember that? Like, yeah.
I remember how simple computer games were once upon a time. You look at the new generation of computer games, and they're just.
I can't play them.
No, I've come to that as well.
It's too like those zombie games when they're coming at you. It's like holy shit, you know.
Oh, speaking of zombie games, I've got the virtual reality headset now.
Oh yeah.
HTC Vive.
Oh man, what's that like?
It's incredible. You guys got to come around and check it out. It's nuts.
Yeah.
It really is, and it's scary as well. One of the game, Army of the Undead, you've got like a clown, just like it, starts swinging, hissing, giggling at you. And as he's coming towards you, you've got zombies on all fours running like dogs.
Yeah.
I shit myself. I took the headset off. I'm like shaking. I can't play those games without my mate there, you know? But yeah, it's crazy. With the new gaming systems like the PlayStations, I'm not really into that. I prefer the old school, like, you know, ColecoVision and Atari and Nintendo and Mega Drive and all that. I think I gravitated towards that, and I like that a lot more. Did you guys ever have those systems?
No, my first system was actually the PlayStation. Well, the original PlayStation.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you skipped all those other things? And...
Yeah. I thought gaming was great, and I thought, you know, but I was mainly an arcade player. And then when I saw the PlayStation, it just seemed like such a simple system, such an easy system. I thought, why the hell not?
Especially with the technology of using CDs instead of cartridges, which was great. But then you risk the thing of scratching the disc and...
Yes, as I discovered to my parents.
What about you, Andy?
I kind of came in with the Commodore 64 or Amiga 500 sort of thing. So I kind of missed the cartridge. Yeah, no, I'm very much kind of drifting back to those sort of basic sort of basis of gaming as opposed to these really complex, interactive, you know, where you're totally involved in the...
I just recently dug out my PlayStation 2, plugged it up to my telly, and I've been playing a lot of the old games again that I held on to, and it's the same sort of thing. It's that you know, it's simpler,
but you can involve yourself into it. It's not so complex as the new ones are. Yeah. You got to be online to access some of these games and some of the content.
So I find myself only accessing gaming consoles now just to enable you know, the 4K playback, you know, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
As opposed to a gaming capability. And then I'll find, you know, when that little mini NES comes out, that sounds like an absolute cracker.
Oh, wow. That looks phenomenal.
Yeah.
I'm much more shamed than you are because I've been using my PlayStation 4 recently just to play CDs.
Oh, really?
Because they sound great through my soundbar and through my senses. Yeah, I'm gonna... But yeah, I've not been gaming much at all lately. Although I always watch good games. I always sort of give a hand on what's
you got to know what's going on.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. Everything that's coming out. Did you ever like the old 80s movies? Like, I think the horror with 80s, because we're all horror fans, they really brought out some good ones. I watched Fright Night recently.
Oh, that is brilliant. The original Fright Night.
Which one? I was going to say, which one?
The original, not the Colin Farrell one.
I was going to say the Colin Farrell
I have not seen the Colin Farrell one. I refused to see it because I had such fond memories of the first one.
It's got Toni Collette in it. It's just like, what, Muriel's fighting vampires? Come on, really?
Was it Vincent Price in the original?
No, it was Roddy McDowall.
Roddy McDowall, that's it.
Roddy was so good.
He was
in
brilliant.
1 and 2.
He made us. I loved the second movie. I haven't seen it for years, but I love the second movie. Yeah.
That was some great ones. I think my favourites from the 80s, Goonies.
Love the
Goonies.
Yeah.
Watched that last night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did you watch the uncut version with the octopus?
No. I got a digibook from Spain. I know you're familiar with them. My interest in digibooks lately. So yeah, I just wanted to make sure the disc was all kosher, and it was.
Oh wow!
Yeah, you can watch that. You can never get sick of.
Never.
It.
No,
It's fantastic.
No. I've got the Goonies on DVD, and I occasionally get it out and watch it and love it.
It's timeless.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
My ultimate dream would be getting Sloth. I was mentioning to Ian. Yeah, I just want to get like a 1-to-1 scale bust of Sloth.
That would be.
Hey, you guys! That'd be cool.
Do you like Rob Zombie?
Yeah, I do. I think what he's done, how he's reinvented some of the genre films, is just great.
Well, he's a child of the 70s and 80s. He tries to make his films as 70s and 80s.
Oh yeah, it's great.
It really shows.
Absolutely,
It really shows.
absolutely.
Have you guys seen Hatchet at all?
No.
There's a director called Adam Green, and he's just phenomenal. He's sort of bringing back a new concept of the horror monster, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Hatchet's a really, really good movie to check. Definitely got to check that out.
Okay.
But I think leading back in the 80s, another movie that, you know, captivated me was Lost Boys.
Oh, I
mentioned
love
that
Lost
before,
Boys.
and,
I love Lost Boys. I guess it's my age. My age is showing. I'm more of a vampire fan than a zombie fan. And The Lost Boys was a really, seminal film for me.
Oh, yeah, it was phenomenal.
Yeah, it's a good cool flick.
And then you lead into another sort of like comedy, but horror type of ish, Gremlins.
Oh, I love Gremlins.
Gremlins was pretty cool. Yeah. Well, what is some of your favourite 80s movies? Like Dawn of the Dead, that was sort of like esque, you know, 1978 to 80s. That's another one of my favourites. Romero was spot on. And John Carpenter.
John Carpenter, the Thing.
Oh, so
His
good.
Thing was... it was very like the original story.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
It was a brilliant film. Brilliant film.
So name some 80s movies, Andy, that you love.
I think you've kind of copped them a bit. You know, when I was a kid, you know, the 80s horror, you know, it was Nightmare on Elm Street. You know, it was over and over. You know,
Friday the 13th.
Yeah, not so much Friday the 13th.
You didn't gravitate towards Jason at all? Or?
Yeah, look, we definitely watch them. I think of them along the lines of you know, sleep over at a mate's house, or you know, or vice versa.
Yeah.
And you're allowed to go down to the video shop and pick one movie, you know. And Nightmare on Elm Street, you know, it was invariably picked, even though he had said it like, you know, a fortnight ago.
I think Nightmare on Elm Street was probably my favourite film. I liked the whole sort of series, but the first film really stands out. It was original. And it was
scary
really
as well.
scary as hell.
First three, I think, really.
Yeah.
Like Freddy, man. Like, oh my god.
I thought the first film was really intelligent too. The way it sold it, the premise, it was really smart.
Yeah. You think, I suppose, as I got older, maybe Friday the 13th, because there was that rare titty flash, you know.
The nudity,
the
nudity spectrum was great.
but that was partly what horror films were about. This is always a bit of a flash.
Yeah, scream, tits.
It's always one that's having sex in the film that gets murdered. So
I love the way The Simpsons do that, where they have the watching
Treehouse of Horrors.
Yeah. Well, when they do the scenes of Bart in the cinema, and it's always him watching some cheesy movie. And there's always someone on the screen who's making out, and then you don't see it because you can see the kids' reactions, but you always hear the scream or something. It captures that brilliant. It's American films; they're really moralistic. You know, the bad kids are always the kids that get X'd, and the good kids, the nerdy kids, are the heroes of the piece.
Oh yeah. What about Halloween?
No, not.
You never got into Michael Myers?
No.
I thought he was pretty scary. Like I went to the cinemas last year and I watched Halloween on the big screen again.
Oh yeah.
And like people were laughing in that. I'm like, don't laugh. Like this is classic, you know. It was so cool just to see it. But as they eventually went down the whole line of the movies, I think it sort of dried up a little bit.
I liked the first Halloween. I thought that was another classic, a great classic of that period. But again, to come back to Rob Zombie, his Halloween and Halloween 2, I think are much better. Because I think they're much more intelligent.
More gritty, grimy.
Yeah.
It cost a bit of flack for Halloween too, didn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think in the 80s, it wasn't as heavily horror influenced back then. I think I was kind of a lot more open to the action sort of side of things.
Yeah.
So like the Rambos and the Commandos and all that sort of stuff. But when you mentioned Rob Zombie, it made me think of another film that I love from the 80s. An American Werewolf in London.
Mate.
Yeah, that was a great film.
That was awesome.
Film, yeah.
You know, I can go back to that again, time and time again. Love it.
Yeah, I can watch that over and over again and never tire of it. Yeah,
that was a great film. Did you guys ever get into Phantasm?
I loved Phantasm. I think there was a Phantasm 2.
Oh, there was. I think they're all up to 5. I think they had Angus Scrimm. He was like I think 80 or something in his last. He made a cameo. I haven't seen it yet. Been in the last one. But I always thought that was such a good film.
I know. I saw a few of those films, but the first film I thought was just it blew me away. It actually scared me heaps. Yeah, my favourite film in that genre, well, not in that genre, but in the sort of 80s genre, is actually a 70s film, and it's going to come as absolutely no surprise to anybody. It's of course Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Toby Hooper, mate.
Before it was released on DVD in this country, I went to a horror night at a local cinema when I was living on the North Shore. Fortunately, the cinema was owned by a couple of horror busts.
Oh, lovely.
And the first feature that they showed was just a whole stream of trailers for films that we didn't get to see in Australia. There was Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I just thought, oh my God, it looks like everything I've read about. And when I saw it, it just blew me away.
I just think the realism of it
Yes.
and how it could actually happen, and that petrified the hell out of me.
Yeah.
So growing up, you know, I'd always want to watch it with the lights on.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the few modern horror movies that didn't go over top with things.
Yeah. Well,
you know what I mean? Let your imagination do a bit of the work.
Yeah, this was cinematically, it's a brilliantly made film, because when I first saw it, I was sure that the guy in the wheelchair got his head, you know, bisected by that chainsaw. I'm sure that's what I saw. You know. And the more I watched it on DVD, the more I realised that didn't happen. And that's good filmmaking. The fact that Hooper could take you to that level of terror, that when he cut away, your kind of brain filled in the rest.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, that's brilliant filmmaking. It really is.
He's really good. I'm just trying to think of another film that he worked on. Steven Spielberg.
I think he did.
Poltergeist?
Yes, Poltergeist.
Poltergeist.
This is my little story, Poltergeist. So I remember seeing your Yoda rubber figure that you had,
Oh, yeah.
the puppet, and I should have bought it off you, but I didn't, because I didn't put two and two together. I rewatched Poltergeist recently, and that boy had it. He was just holding it throughout the movie. Had in his hands, had all Star
Are you serious?
Yeah. So I went on eBay and I picked one up from the States.
He did have a Star Wars vintage, toy chest in his room.
Oh, it was
that
crazy.
movie was, it was good to just watch the movie for that.
Well, that's another one of the movies that is definitely revolutionary in horror.
Yeah.
I thought that was wonderful. And the mother, I can't think of her name, but she was smoking hot. She was so good. But then tragedy struck. You know, the cast members. I think the daughter ended up getting strangled to death by a boyfriend, and that girl, she ended up dying from Crohn's disease a few years later. So bit of tragedy. But speaking of horror, Exorcist, Linda Blair. Oof.
Have you seen the director's cut that's available now?
No, I haven't.
Pretty awesome.
Scarier?
It's pretty much the same film, but a lot of the stuff they cut out, I think it must have been a time-saving thing. Some of the stuff is awesome. She comes down the stairs on her hands and knees, but she's like, I don't know how to describe it. She's actually facing upwards.
Oh,
so
wow.
she's crawling like some sort of bug. And just, it's like something out of The Ring or one of those films. Just when she does it, it really gets the goosebumps going, because it just looks so unnatural.
Oh, yes.
But does it fit in with the
Well, it does.
cinematography, I suppose,
Yeah.
in the flow of the actual
Yeah.
scene?
Yeah, well, that's the good thing
Because-
about the director's cut, about this particular director's cut. It seems to flow quite smoothly. There's a few little interjections of the demon's face, which I think are probably unnecessary. But other than that, the film itself flows pretty naturally. It's only about 20 minutes longer than the original. But some of the things that are cut out of it are pretty awesome.
Oh man, I'll always remember The Exorcist. I watched it with my girlfriend back in the day when I was like a young kid, and something happened, and I moved my arm away, and I ended up cutting the side of my arm open, and I've got like a bit of a scar. I don't know if you can see it, but I'll show you closely. But yeah, that always resonates with me. I'm like, shit. After I watched that,
Not the kind of souvenir you really want.
no. But speaking of Exorcist, I picked up a signed Linda Blair NECA figure.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it just says "Sweet Dreams, Linda Blair," and got that off a mate. Remember when he picked it up? I was too late on the Facebook forums, and I was like, and he goes, "Yeah, I got it." And then finally he said, "I'll sell it to you." A year and a half I've been waiting out. Finally got it, so really pumped. But I'd love to get a 1-to-1 scale Linda Blair.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
That would be freaky. I'm really into the life-size horror stuff. I like to be able to like walk into my room and just be a bit of a scare, but then sort of level it out with my Star Wars and my superheroes as well. But yeah, did you guys ever get into the 1-to-1 scale?
I never have, but I've always been tempted to get the busts, but no, temptation, nothing more.
I had some busts, but I can't remember what they were.
I remember that when we were both getting those, we were going down and checking the computers at work. I remember the sideshow.
I had the sideshow. Yeah, now I'm remembering. I had the sideshow Yoda.
I remember that. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a beautiful piece, really. Yeah. For the price,
Especially back then when you guys were like hitting up all that.
Yeah.
Comparison to what's available now.
Now it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I was looking at a 1-to-1 scale Palpatine. The guy wants like $1,200 for it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, really? It's crazy.
Yeah.
I was always really attracted, as Andrew I think knows, to the Nosferatu bust.
Oh, have you seen the new one?
I've seen pictures of one that I'm not aware of on the web, so I think it probably is the new one.
It's on Pop Culture website, and it's probably around $850.
No.
And you can join his hand, and he's holding.
Yes, that's the one I seen. Yes.
The quality of that, I thought, and then I watched a review video. It's bloody amazing, absolutely amazing.
I've wondered about those because I suppose a lot of people that missed out on the original sideshow run would be, thinking, "Oh, this is a good thing,"
But the Dracula Bela Lugosi is not very good. The one that's
I've seen that.
that's
I think
terrible.
Bela Lugosi has a really hard face to get or to nail, because I've seen a lot of stuff on the websites which is great, but it's American style, and some of the stuff I've seen in the stores just doesn't look convincing.
The sideshow original bust was I think, is probably the best I've seen. Of that.
Because he had a remarkable face.
Yeah,
he really did.
Yeah.
You're a bit of a Metallica fan, aren't you, Andy?
Yeah.
Have you seen Kirk Hammett Collection of Horror?
Got a book out, Too Much Horror Business.
Oh, I've been wanting to get that, but I watched some YouTube videos on it. His horror stuff is just phenomenal. He's got all the masks from the movies. He's got the props, the life size, actual clothes Bella and Lon Chaney wore. And
oh, that's amazing. I've seen a photograph of the original cape, and just thought, oh God, I want that so much.
Apparently his house is just like if you're a collector, you walked in there, you would drop, and it's just insane.
It's just crazy.
Just someone with.
A lot of people in the industry have a
bottomless
shot
wallet
for these things. I've seen interviews with producers and directors and stuff, mainly on video things, on DVDs, where if you look carefully in the background, you can see something that you recognise and go, "Oh, so he collected that, eh? Interesting."
With the power of money, you can pretty much get
That's
anything if you're a director or an actor. And
That's it. Yeah.
Which
It's like when was it Tom Gilliland from Sideshow? How he used to just like do a conversation about what exciting new things are coming up from Sideshow, and in the background they'd have a shelf with the coolest and rarest Sideshow pieces. And people just tune in just to see this.
And then
pieces.
I know you freeze frame. You're like, oh my God, when's this going to come out? Look, the quality work people are doing these days. I found this place called Creation X, and for like $379, they do 1-to-1 scale Texas, Phantasm, Toxic Avenger.
Yes.
I'll show you photos after this. Phenomenal. And I'm thinking, but it's so cheap with glass eyes, porcelain teeth, and that. I'm absolutely blown away.
Where are they based?
I think they're in
States.
New York somewhere. Yeah, I think.
Like as I've discussed with you before, there's just so many little mom and pop type companies out there that just are punching well above their weight, putting out some really nice quality gear. You just kind of got to have your ear to the ground and know where to.
Before they blow up, because when they blow up and people pay attention to it, then the price goes boom straight through the roof. The prop store that was making 1-to-1 scale busts of the Ninja Turtles from the 90s movie, they were cheap as chips. I think they're like $400 per turtle. Now they're up to $8.99 US, not including shipping per turtle, because everyone got onto it and they're like, okay, we can make a bit of money on this, and it's like far out,
Creations Unearthed. Creations Unearthed's a great example with the It figure. They've released a couple of different figures now, but I know with the It figure, I think it was released around about the $400 mark, and it's kind of surpassed $1,000 now comfortably.
I first became aware of what it was like in the States in the 80s when the Batman movie came out.
Oh yeah, let's talk about Batman. Let's delve into Batman.
A friend of mine went on his first ever trip to the States. He came back and he just grabbed me and pinned me to the chair and said, "Man, the shit you can get in the States, you would go nuts." And he was talking about all this Batman stuff that you just couldn't get here. Yeah, so he knew I was a big fan, and that's why when I sort of started saying to myself, man, I'd really like to check out what's going on in the States, because this guy raved about it for days. Just the number of stores he went into where he saw things that were just not available anywhere else, and it just blew his mind.
We'll go around the table. Who's your favourite Batman?
I've got to say, Christian Bale. Yeah, I think he's the first guy to really capture the fact that it's not about Batman and Bruce Wayne. It's about Batman, Bruce Wayne, and the person Bruce Wayne pretends to be.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
And he kind of nailed
I'd
that.
agree
He
with
really did do the whole sort of three personalities in those films.
he was phenomenal, and I'm still sad that they didn't use him for Batman vs Superman.
I haven't seen that yet.
Oh, you haven't?
I haven't. No.
I got to say that
I've heard bad things.
bad things, sure, but Ben Affleck is great.
Yeah.
I have to put my hand up and say he doesn't even come in the category of Kilmer or Clooney.
Yeah.
Surpasses that. He's right up with the best. I think for me, Adam West, I love the 66 Batman. You know, when I grew up, Dad used to always show me it on TV, and I got the cards. And
Yeah, I had the cards, yeah.
It was-
and the die-cast Batmobile.
oh yeah, I love that. What about you, Andy? Big Clooney fan?
Yeah, he's awesome.
You love the nipples on the outfit?
Did you? I don't know if you saw him. I think he was on that Graham Norton show.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, it's what, he kind of admitted it was one of the biggest mistakes he'd made since admitting into a movie.
I was really disappointed with Clooney because when I heard it was George Clooney before I saw the film, I thought, yeah, he's sophisticated enough to do the whole Bruce Wayne thing. You know, he fits into it.
Yeah.
When I saw the film, I was just embarrassed for the guy.
It was Schumacher, wasn't it? Joel Schumacher who directed that.
Yeah, it was.
I'd have to agree. When I was a kid, Batman for me was Adam West.
Yeah. I
simple.
Being a long-term fan, I think Batman is like Doctor Who. The Batman that you love is the Batman that you first saw. My story is that I was a Batman fan when I was like yay high. You know, I was as tall as a matchbox. I was hooked on the comics, and it was the horror thing because when I was a kid, the comics were mainly black and white, and they were moody. They looked moody in black and white.
Oh yeah.
And I was reminded of a Universal film. And the character was kind of creepy because of the costume, you know. So I've been a Batman fan forever. Now I've got to say that I was embarrassed to admit that I was a Batman fan when I was in the 60s because the television show was so unlike the comic. That's not to say that I didn't watch it. I watched it avidly, but I denied to all my friends that I watched it. Yeah. So to me, it was really. I've been through all the Batman, and I thought they've all brought something to the role.
Definitely.
But it was definitely the way Bale played it, because he nailed the character in the comic book. And being a long-term fan and being a comic book fan, being a fan of the guy from the original source, that meant the most to me, the fact that
he was so good bringing it out now with the Justice League and everything like that. There's probably reasons behind why Bale didn't want to continue, which is fine. But yeah, definitely got to see Batman vs Superman and just give it give it a go.
Yeah. I intend to add it to my collection. I always get the DVDs, always, or Blu-rays, and I haven't got that one yet, but I will get it. Sight unseen, just because it's what it is.
Oh yeah, true. Okay, Jokers. Cesar Romero. We got Jack Nicholson. We got Heath Ledger and we got Jared Leto. For me, I would say Ledger, because I always loved him growing up. I thought he was a great actor, you know, all the portrayals he did. And then very close, Nicholson. But I guess they're all different.
They are. They are. Yeah.
I think Ledger was very lucky to have Nicholson before him. As you know, not that he picked him to pieces or anything, but there were certain aspects of Nicholson's Joker that you could see that Ledger thought that is fucking cool, and I'm going to incorporate that into, you know, my very individualised approach to that character. Do you know what I mean?
I heard that he drew inspiration from Tom Waits, the singer.
Oh, really?
And then also from Jack Sparrow as well.
Oh, wow.
Jack Sparrow?
Yeah. Wow. I read this somewhere, and so he just got bits and pieces.
Yeah.
But to have someone to completely just embody the character...
I agree. For me, it's Ledger as well. Yeah.
Oh, so good. You don't have any Joker pieces at all, or...?
No, I only have one Batman piece, and it's a real... I think it's a DC Direct, which I got in a comic book shop. And his eyes are brown, which, for the hardcore fan, he's got blue eyes.
What about you, Andy? Did you ever Batman memorabilia or anything like that? It seems like
I think that's probably the whole DC Marvel type thing. I did have a few pieces, like I said, like with the
Thing and Hulk.
Thing and Hulk. I had the Spider-Man premium format.
Yeah, the
I only got them because I thought they were really, really cool, and it wasn't necessarily because I was super interested in that genre or anything like that. It was just because I thought as a piece on their own, it's just amazing, and they certainly were. It's just if you use that as the basis of buying stuff, invariably you're going to end up parting with it.
That happens, you know. You buy something because it looks good, but you don't have any attachment to.
Yeah, you use collecting as a hobby. That's fine. If you lose a little bit of dosh over the years, it's a hobby. You know, that's the part and parcel of the game. You're not going to make coin on everything that you buy.
Yeah.
But if you do it as I did, and I kind of lost probably a little bit more than is probably what most people would deem feasible by buying stuff that I thought was really cool at the time, and then stuff comes out that you think is really, really, you know, it's kind of more in line with what your interests are and stuff, and then you find out you kind of lose a bit of cash. Do you know what I mean? And if you do that over a period of time, look, I'm 40 now. I'm glad I've come to the realisation of the fact that, you know, you can't continue to do it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you have to pick and choose and try to find these perfect pieces.
And then be true to yourself and stick to it, and then just leave it at that. You know?
Yeah. One favourite piece that you can never part with, no matter what, no matter how, like if you were on the streets living in a cardboard box and you're clutching this collectible. For me, I've got a vast selection of stuff. I think currently probably my He-Man premium format I've got with Orko. I love that to death. That just, when I look at that, I think of, you know, my dad and my mum, and just...
That's cool. Yeah.
What about you, Ian?
If I had to pare it all down to one thing, I think it'd have to be the Phantom of the Opera, the sideshow Phantom of the
beautiful.
Opera. Yeah. That film is an amazing film. The silent film is an amazing film, and the Lon Chaney sideshow captures it perfectly. I think.
Oh, lovely.
In colour. And 3D.
Oh, definitely. And what about you, Andy?
I don't know. I think it's something I don't have yet. When I was a kid, I had this. My auntie gave it to me, and it was a Transformer.
Yep.
Gen 1. Die-cast Bumblebee.
Oh wow!
In the beetle shape, not this Chimera rubbish. It was about that. What's that? 5 inches long.
5 inches long.
And it was kick-ass. It was awesome. If I could find another one, I've never found one. Never. And I scour. I've never found one since. If I found one of those, I'd probably sell everything off. But either one of these two, I'd have trouble.
Sparrow or creature.
Yeah, that's really impressed me today. It's reminded me of its beauty. You know?
Well, definitely you got to show me some photos and all the details from it, and I'll put out the feelers on. I think we'll come across it 100%.
Yeah, Gen 1 Hasbro Bumblebee.
Yeah,
please. Die-cast.
Hasbro, I think, brings back memories.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you for listening to the current edition of the Toyzilla show. I want to thank Andy and Ian for being the guests. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
And definitely check out our YouTube channel at YouTube/Toyzilla Oz, Instagram Toyzilla Oz, and Facebook Toyzilla Oz, and all the rest of it. Anyway, guys, that's Draz signing out, and thank you, and see you next time.